Okay, good morning. Today inshallah we are gonna do final revision on the content, but before the final revision and before the exams that I have prepared for you that we are gonna answer together, we have very small part about the grammar, which is adjectives, to be punctual, comparative adjectives. But before we are gonna move on to comparative adjective, we are gonna start with the adjective, with the word adjective. What the meaning of the word adjective? Adjective يعني صفة. We use the adjective to describe the noun or modify the noun. What the meaning to describe؟ عشان نصف the noun الاسم. For an example, the class is clean. The class is clean. Clean here is an adjective. Clean هنا الصفة. Because I describe the noun which is class. The class is clean. الكلاس الفصل is يكون clean نظيف. Here the word clean is an adjective. Let's talk about the most important part, which is comparative adjective. Comparative adjective يعني صفات المقارنة. جاي من compare يعني يقارن. We use comparative adjective to compare between two things, two groups, two persons. So, but before we are gonna talk about comparative adjectives in details, we have two kinds of adjectives, which are short adjective, صفة قصيرة. Okay, why is the meaning of the word, or what is the meaning of the word adjective أو short adjective؟ هي it is just as an adjective which consists of one syllable. بتتكون من مقطع واحد بس. Like for example, fat, thin, tall, small. All of these are called short adjectives. صفات قصيرة. If we are gonna talk about or if we are gonna do comparative or make comparative adjective to the short adjectives, number one, we put the short adjective and add er at the end of the adjective plus than. So haphazardly كده بضيف er لكل الشورت adjectives in order to make it comparative? Definitely no. Number one, أنا بضيف للadjective الصفة er, tall طويل, taller than أطول من. First point. طب second point, if the adjective ends with e letter, we just add r letter at the end of the adjective. For example, large كبير الحجم, larger than أكبر من في الحجم. So the adjective ends with e letter, so I added r letter at the end of the adjective in order to make it comparative. Number three, if the adjective ends with consonant letter, and before consonant letter there is a vowel letter, we make the last letter double. بنخلي آخر حرف اللي هو الكونسونانت double 2. big كبير الحجم, bigger than أكبر من في الحجم. I made the last letter double. big double G. big كبير الحجم, bigger than أكبر من في الحجم. The last point, if the adjective ends with y letter and before y letter there is a consonant letter, حرف ساكن, we delete y letter and change it into I, E, R. For example, easy سهل, easier than أسهل من, happy سعيد, happier than أسعد من. So again, short adjective صفة قصيرة. If I want to make it comparative, لو عايز أخليها comparative adjective صفة مقارنة, number one, I add er at the end of the adjective, so it became comparative, taller than أطول من. Number two, larger than أكبر من في الحجم. big bigger than أكبر من في الحجم. Again, thin رفيع, thinner than, double N er than. The last point, easy. What the meaning of easy? Easy سهل. I will delete y letter and change it into I, E, R. Easier than أسهل من. For example, the countryside is quieter than the country. Countryside, the countryside الريف is quieter than the country, أهدى من المدينة. Okay? We're gonna say for example أو البلد. For example, quieter, quiet, هادي. I added er, ضفت er at the end of the short adjective plus than. Quiet هادي, quieter than أهدى من. So we finished the short adjective. Let's move on to the large adjectives. or long adjectives. Long adjectives يعني صفات طويلة. What is the meaning of the word long adjective؟ يعني ايه صفة طويلة؟ It consists of more than one syllable. بتتكون من أكتر من مقطع. For example, interesting, 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 dangerous, dangerous, fantastic, wonderful, beautiful. All of these adjectives are called long adjectives. كل الادجectives دي اسمها long adjectives because they consist of more than one syllable. بيتكونوا من أكتر من مقطع واحد. طب if I want to make comparative adjective، لو أنا عاوز أعمل comparative adjective لللونج adjectives دي، للصفات الطويلة دي، هضيف ER at the end of the adjective؟ definitely no. لا مش هضيف ER زي الشورت adjective. طب هعمل إيه؟ هضيف more or less قبل اللونج adjective. before the long adjective I will add more or less plus long adjective plus than. more معناها أكثر، less أقل. for example, more beautiful than أكثر جمالا من. الopposite العكس less beautiful than أقل جمالا من. يبقى if I want to make comparative adjective to the long adjective I add more or less. more or less مش بضيف طبعا الاثنين. if I want to make more أكثر I will add more. أقل I will write less. more beautiful than أكثر جمالا من. less beautiful than أقل جمالا من. for example, if we are gonna talk about reading is more interesting than watching TV. here long adjective interesting. I added more before the adjective in order to make it comparative عشان أخليها صفة مقارنة. so I added here more interesting than. reading is more interesting than watching TV. القراءة أكثر إثارة أو متعة than من watching TV من مشاهدة التلفزيون. so we finished all of these part. let's move on to the part of irregular comparative adjectives. I have irregular comparative adjectives. what the meaning of irregular comparative adjectives؟ صفات مقارنة بس irregular as we have said many times ago. زي ما قلنا كتير قبل كده irregular غير منتظم. so here I didn't add ما ضفتش ER ولا more ولا than ولا whatever anything. أنا just الادجكتيف it became completely different. الادجكتيف completely different متغيرة تماما. for example, bad سيء، worse than أسوأ من، good جيد، better than أفضل من أو أحسن من، little قليل للأماونت الكمية، less than أقل من، many كثير للعدد، more than أكثر من، far بعيد، farther than أبعد من، farther than or further than. by the way both of them are correct. الاثنين صح. farther than or further than both of them are correct. again all of these are called irregular comparative adjectives. صفات مقارنة irregular غير منتظمة. adjective comparative: bad worse than, good better than, little less than, many more than, far further than or further than. I have to put your tongue between your teeth like that. further. So we finished the comparative adjective. Let's move on to the third part, للبارت الثالث or the last thing we're gonna talk about. if we want to say that two persons or two groups have the same degree or quality of the adjective. لو عاوز اقول ان two persons الشخصين او two things الشيئين have the same quality or degree of the adjective، لهم نفس درجة الادجكتيف الصفة. عاوز اقول مثلا for example let's talk in Arabic، نقولها بالعربي. لو عاوز اقول احمد طويل زي علي او نفس طول علي، عمر نفس طول Mohamed or whatever. we're gonna put, if we talk about affirmative as we have said before, affirmative طبعا anyway, sorry for the cut here, we have here a affirmative مثبت. if we want to make affirmative sentence with the use of as, we're gonna put as adjective as, we're gonna put the adjective between as and as. for example, Ali is as tall as Muhammad. علي طويل زي محمد او علي في نفس طول محمد. يبقى if I want to say that two persons، لو عاوز اقول two persons الشخصين ليهم نفس الديجري of the adjective، نفس درجة الادجكتيف، ولا اطول ولا اقصر، هما the same degree نفس الدرجة. I will put as adjective as علي is as tall as محمد. طيب هنا في short adjective ولونج adjective، الموضوع بيختلف زي comparative؟ definitely no. لا، انا بحط ال as adjective as and so on. if we want to make it negative، لو انا عاوز اعملها بقى نفي، عاوز اقول for example علي مش في نفس طول محمد، الاثنين مش طوال زي بعض، مختلفين. they are different. what will I say؟ هقول ايه؟ I will put not، I will add here not as adjective as. for example علي isn't as tall as محمد، يعني علي مش طويل زي محمد، او علي مش في نفس طول محمد. اوكي، يبقى again what will we have learned today؟ اللي احنا اتعلمناه النهارده again we have finished comparative. again comparative adjective صفات المقارنة، but before the comparative adjective we have learned the word separately. adjective صفة، comparative adjective صفات المقارنة للشورت adjective short adjective صفة قصيرة، و comparative adjective to the long adjective للصفة الطويلة. we added more or less before the long adjective plus than. the last thing irregular comparative adjective صفات المقارنة الغير منتظمة irregular، ودي طبعا بنحفظها bad worse than good better than little less than many more than far farther than or further than. the last part آخر part في الادجective هنا if I want to say that the two persons again have the same degree of the adjective، ليهم نفس degree or quality of the adjective، بنحط هنا في affirmative we're gonna put as adjective as. if we're gonna say or make negative sentence we're gonna say or put not before as, not as adjective as. for example here Ali isn't as tall as Muhammad. So we finished this part of the adjective. Good luck.